It's Tuesday!
What's going on, guys? Satsuki the Savage here, and today I'm going to be talking unOrdinary, episodes 94 through 108. Even though this was a decent number of episodes to cover, it's not that much to talk about, so we're going to jump right into it. First order of business is talking about the debut of our favorite superhero, X-rei. Remi decided the best course of action to find Ember was to use herself as bait, thus X-rei was born. Before anything important though, I want to get the elephant out of the room because Uru-chan had some costumes in these episodes that were a work of art. Talking about the attire of X-rei, from the black Payless boots to the drawn on surgical mask to the hoodie with duct tape on it in the shape of an X, this costume looked like it came straight out of a do-it-yourself YouTube video. However, while the hero threads don't look extravagant, I can get behind it because for one, it was funny, and two, I think this costume was intentionally amateurish, kind of like Spider-Man's first suit. Now, going into the actual hero work that Remi went through, she traveled to a low-tier district called Brandish, where she liberated the people from the reign of the almighty Waldo. Now, the actual confrontation with Waldo isn't too important in the grand scheme, but there are some takeaways in his defeat. First is the relationship between the low tiers and the authorities. Waldo was able to terrorize the people of Brandish without any resistance because the authorities simply do not waste time to be involved in quote-unquote kitty affairs. As far as the authorities are concerned, Waldo's rampage doesn't even register in their radar. It's nothing to be worked up over because the people affected are only low tiers. And to pile on, authorities also discourage heroes through media coverage. Imagine if their agenda of anti-heroism was realized. Remi would have never acted and Waldo would still be terrorizing the district. The second takeaway is the relationship between low tiers and higher tiers. Even before Brandish, we've seen people in the face of more powerful people basically kiss their ass out of fear. In the case of Brandish, the hostages freed by Remi were too afraid to properly thank her, despite us as readers knowing that Remi is one of the sweetest individuals in the world of unOrdinary. These two takeaways lead me into a more broad point. The real antagonist isn't a group like Waldo or even Ember, it's the structure of society itself. Think about this. Let's say hypothetically Ember is defeated. Then what happens? Will there be any lasting change for the better? And why was there a need for superheroes in the first place? The answer can be found by looking at the very top. The systematic oppression of weaker people is the cause for most problems. These villainous groups are simply taking advantage of a corrupt system that allows the weak to be snuffed out. Until the system itself is challenged, the status quo will remain intact and another Waldo will appear again. The very last takeaway I got from the Waldo fight was the boost in his power. Waldo went from a low tier to an elite tier without any explanation. The only clue we got was the needle mark in his arm. What we can hypothesize is that Ember not only has the means to take or steal abilities, but also enhance them. Waldo went from a 2.8 to a 4.2, having a 1.4 increase in his level, which is a 50% increase. This goes without saying, but that is a dangerous asset that Ember might possess. Changing my focus to Remi and company, I think with Remi learning about society's flaws, it'll push her into being a hero permanently. Right now, Remi is doing hero work for revenge, but Remi is compassionate. Not only that, but heroism seems to run in her blood, so I could definitely see Remi picking up where Ray left off. As for Blake, he is also someone who I can see pursuing being a vigilante. Blight seemed to be disgusted with the treatment of the people of Brandish, so he may potentially assist Remi, not just as Blake, but as an official hero. Blake has also made an effort to be friendly with John, who, like the asshole he is, refuses to reciprocate, but for Blight, this shows a positive trend in his character. With Eason though, he seems to be in the middle. He's mostly going along with Remi because he doesn't want her to get herself killed, but I think he's conscious enough of the corruption exhibited by those at the top. Switching gears to the King, Arlo, he wasn't featured too much, but I think these episodes were the calm before the storm. Arlo's iron grip that he once held on Wellston is slipping, and it's happening rapidly. John defeated Arlo but doesn't take the mantle as king. Sera fell from grace with the loss of her powers. Remi has taken up vigilante duties, Ember is an imminent threat, and even Cecil has chosen to defy Arlo's command. Arlo's order that he holds so dear has been compromised, and I doubt it'll ever be restored. For now, it is up to Arlo on whether he'll continue to remain complacent or adapt to these changes. Two choices Arlo has in front of him is whether he'll try to stop Remi from hero life and whether he'll pursue revenge against Ember. Arlo and Remi had the same motivation for opposing Ember, which is Ray, so I could see them standing on the same side of these ordeals. The reason why this is significant for Arlo specifically is because his assistance with Remi will mark a major growth in character. Arlo made himself out to be someone who never opposed the natural order, but the pursuit of vengeance against Ember would contradict that claim. More for Arlo's character was his refusal to acknowledge that he was the strongest in Wellston, despite that being true, at least in the public eye. While you can spew a ton of insults towards Arlo, you can't say that he accepts tainted victories. If he wins, he wants it to be on his own accord, by his own merit. Covering John's portion of the story, he has been a character that's becoming harder for me to like. I already made the claim that school shooter John is worse than Arlo, and I got more proof of that in his ass whooping against Zeke. After Sera got exposed to the entire school body, at that point, as Sera's alleged best friend, John should have took it upon himself to make sure she would be protected in his presence, but that didn't happen. And why is that? John is still holding back his power, and in turn, Sera paid the price for John's hesitance, and while I can explain it, I cannot defend it. Through a flashback to John attending his readjustment classes, we've seen that Keon was able to guilt trip John into pretending to be a cripple. John doesn't want a repeat of New Bolston, he doesn't want a repeat of Claire and Adrian, so he's chosen to maintain his secret, even at Sera's expense. At the very least, the redeeming quality of John is that he has conflict with himself as to whether the secret takes priority over Sera's well-being, so he isn't a complete jackass. But when even Arlo of all people is calling you out for not helping your friends, you know you had to be doing something very, very wrong. Personally, I think John's perspective of the problem in New Bolston is flawed. The debacle that happened in New Bolston didn't happen because John was powerful. It happened because John has a rotten personality. What John should be doing instead of playing cripple is trying to better himself as a person. With John holding back his power, he becomes the target of bullying, and this is serving to bottle up John's negative emotions. So when he actually does use his powers, he goes way too overboard. Just think about what would happen if John flexed his power from the start. Hardly anyone would test him and he could live in peace. I will say though, while John has to take personal responsibility in what's going on in the story right now, his situation goes back to society being a real issue in everything. If bullying wasn't normalized in unOrdinary, John could parade himself as a cripple without a problem. But since the world is the way it is, he must adapt accordingly. Very soon though, we may have John commit on whether or not he keeps his power a secret because he has emerged himself as the mysterious high tier. Tuesday. John used his powers to beat the shit out of Zeke in a rare moment of using his power on school grounds. I believe this is an early breakthrough for John to reveal himself as the true king of Wellston. And with Tuesday taking Zeke off his list, I have in mind a certain green-haired girl that may need a visit from our lunch bag friend. Lastly, going into the miscellaneous section, a couple of points I want to talk about is first, I'm very surprised that nobody has gone after Terrence, all right? Because Arlo knows about Terrence, and Terrence is the invisible boy, all right? He has been following Arlo, yet Arlo has not pulled up on him once or even attempted to find out more about him other than asking Cecil about who was her snitch, all right? So that's just weird to me. Second thing I want to talk about is John and his powers, because it seems like it was given to him by his friend Claire, because at one point he was just getting bullied and it wasn't by design like it was in Wellston. He was getting his ass whooped, then suddenly Claire helped him and then he got powers. We don't know the whole story there. I'm pretty sure that will be more fleshed out. And third thing is, my complaint I have is seeing this damn flashback so many times. I'm so tired of seeing this flashback. I mean, it was relevant. Don't get me wrong. It was relevant in these stretch of episodes, but damn, bro. I've seen this flashback like 5 different times in different ways. It's kind of reminding me of how Naruto used to always show Naruto swinging on that swing by himself. It's like, I'm tired. I understand that John whooped his classmates' ass. I understand he beat up Claire. Like, I'm good on seeing that again, all right? Please, Uruchan, please. And very last point is Sera, because as a Sera stan, it hurts. It hurts, man. And I knew this was going to happen because when you have someone like Sera who's high profiled, who was literally at the top of the school, like Sera is like a god in that school. They literally call her a goddess. When you have someone of that caliber, of that stature fall down the way that she did, all the way to the bottom where pretty much anyone could beat her, you're going to have people that try to go after her. Z was taking advantage of that moment, and he was saying like, oh, I beat a goddess. You know, even though he beat Sera at literally her weakest. So, you know, but that's just how things roll in the world of unOrdinary, all right? So it wasn't surprising. It really just hurts to see Sera, because she was probably at her weakest in these stretch of episodes, because I think it finally hit her. Because before the last video I made, I said that Sera was kind of condescending to John. I felt like she didn't really truly understand how bad the bullying could get, how it could affect your mind, because she actually seemed scared when Arlo basically shouted in her face, said, "You can't tell me shit no more. You're a cripple. Like, know your place." She seemed kind of shook in that moment. So I think it finally hit her that, damn, I lost my powers. I might not get them back. All right. So we're seeing a different side of Sera. All right. Because usually she's always aloof. She's always confident, but I don't think we'll see that Sera in the time that her powers are gone. I do think they will come back eventually, but for now, we got scared Sera, and as a Sera stan, it hurts. It hurts. All right, but that is pretty much it for this video. I thought these stretch of episodes were pretty good. All right, it was pretty good. I really enjoyed the whole Tuesday stuff. I enjoyed X-Rei. I loved all of that. The next stretch of episodes I will be covering is 109 through 124. Those are the episodes I'm covering. All right, so yeah, that's a good amount of episodes. But guys, that's pretty much it for the video. If you enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe. Satsuki the Savage out.
Am I dying to live?